there watching it. The other organizer, a gentleman, goes to hand the microphone to Harry again, and yet again Meghan goes to take it, he holds it back and even laughs and says no, and then continues.
It's a charity thing. There were lots of A-listers there like Jeff Bridges and Rob Lowe and Pink, and you'll remember last year Meghan very much was their centre.
So the fact that Meghan was there last year and she was humiliated not once but twice, and it was all over the organisers not wanting her to have the mic. Could be lots of reasons why she didn't go, but I think her being genuinely sick is at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, indeed.
Meghan Markle going to jail after a shocking truth gets exposed isn't just a headline. It's the kind of phrase that instantly makes people stop, lean in, and ask themselves, wait, what did she do this time? Because with Meghan, it's never quiet for long. The Duchess has a knack for turning what should be ordinary evenings into spectacles that dominate the press for days, if not weeks. And the latest story swirling around her from Kevin Costner's charity gala has left people in disbelief. What was supposed to be a wholesome night honoring first responders turned into yet another Meghan-centered drama that insiders say could mark the point where her reputation starts unraveling for good. The story begins at a fundraiser that had nothing to do with glitz and glamour. Picture cowboy hats, barbecue, and local heroes being recognized for their service. Kevin Costner's annual 805 live concert is supposed to be about celebrating firefighters and EMTs, not royal sideshows. But the second Meghan and Harry walked in with cameras flashing, the mood shifted. People knew the history. They remembered past years where Meghan had been accused of trying to steal the microphone and inject herself into moments that weren't hers. They remembered how, despite not being invited, she showed up anyway, dragging the spotlight with her. So when she walked in this year, uninvited but acting like the event was hers, the whispers started before she even reached her seat. Eyewitnesses claim the tension reached a breaking point when a young woman working the event politely reminded Meghan she wasn't scheduled to speak. No microphone, no stage time, no dramatic moment. Simple, professional, polite. At first, Meghan smiled and nodded as though she understood. But then, in what multiple attendees described as a shocking moment, she allegedly snapped. Reports say she raised her hand and delivered a sharp slap to the worker. Not a clumsy bump, not an accident, but a deliberate strike that left the room stunned. Imagine the silence at a charity fundraiser as the Duchess of Sussex allegedly lashes out in front of donors, celebrities, and community heroes. Conversations froze, gasps filled the air, and people quickly turned away as though pretending not to see might make it less real. The energy of the night collapsed. What should have been a celebration of heroes instantly turned into whispered conversations about Meghan's temper. And the strangest part, according to those in the room, was how unsurprised she looked afterward, almost like it wasn't the first time she'd reacted that way. Harry stood beside her, hand awkwardly hovering on her back, face tight with discomfort. He didn't defend the worker, he didn't apologize, he didn't even step in. He just stood there, a man caught in a nightmare, too afraid or too conditioned to intervene. To many, it looked less like a supportive husband and more like an enabler. His silence screamed louder than words. For Meghan, though, the moment didn't seem to faze her. She clung to Harry's hand, posed for cameras, and carried on as though nothing had happened. And within hours, her PR machine kicked into gear. Articles appeared in glossy magazines painting her as a supportive wife, stepping aside to let Harry shine. Photos were carefully selected to show her smiling serenely by his side, as if the night had been picture perfect. But those in the room told a very different story. They described her as tense, controlling, glued to Harry's side like a shadow, unwilling to let him take a step without her hand on his arm. And as for the alleged slap, not a single mention in the press coverage. It was scrubbed clean, erased, buried under polished headlines. But the internet doesn't forget. Clips, whispers, and eyewitness accounts began circulating, painting Meghan not as a graceful duchess, but as a woman who can't handle not being the center of attention. And this is where the story takes a darker turn, because in Hollywood, reputation is everything. Power players, producers, and agents were at that gala. They didn't miss the headlines, they didn't miss the whispers, and they didn't miss the way Meghan turned a night about firefighters into a scandal. For them, Meghan isn't just a controversial figure anymore. She's a liability. Nobody wants their charity, their red carpet, or their brand associated with unpredictable drama. The fallout has been brutal. Insiders claim invitations are already drying up. Where once she was the darling of talk shows, podcasts, and streaming deals, the buzz has gone cold. Big stars like Oprah and Tyler Perry may have welcomed her early on, but these days the spotlight feels colder, the phone calls less frequent, the opportunities quieter, and every time a new story like this one surfaces, it chips away at what little goodwill she has left in Hollywood. Harry, meanwhile, looks like a man unraveling. Witnesses at the event described his body language as stiff, checked out, hands in pockets, fake smiles plastered across his face. He didn't look like a prince in control of his life. He looked like someone trapped between two worlds. Loyal husband on one side, embarrassed royal on the other. Every scandal drives him further from reconciliation with his family, further from the life he once knew, and deeper into Meghan's orbit of chaos. People pity him now more than they admire him, and pity in the world of celebrity is just another word for weakness. Critics say this isn't new behavior for Meghan. Palace staff in the UK called her difficult. Family members accused her of being controlling. Reports of clashes, feuds, and temper tantrums followed her across the Atlantic. And at Kevin Costner's event, it all came to a head. Slapping someone at a charity fundraiser isn't just a bad look. It's the kind of act that changes how people see you forever. It makes every rumor about entitlement, anger, and control seem plausible. It confirms the worst suspicions of her critics, and it fuels speculation that sooner or later, Meghan won't just be battling tabloids and estranged family members. She could find herself in real legal trouble. The title swirling online, Meghan Markle going to jail, might sound extreme, but it reflects how fast her image is collapsing. Because in America, laying a hand on someone isn't just bad manners, it can be a crime. Even if nothing official comes of it, the idea alone has people buzzing. And Hollywood thrives on buzz. The problem for Meghan is that this kind of buzz isn't glamorous. It's toxic. It's the kind of reputation that makes brands back away, donors hesitate, and agents quietly suggest it's time to step back from the spotlight. The saddest part of all this is the people who were supposed to be honored that night. Firefighters, EMTs, first responders, the very reason for the event, were overshadowed. Their sacrifices, their heroism, their moment to shine, all pushed aside because Meghan allegedly couldn't handle being told no. Donors left grumbling, some saying they might not come back next year if the circus repeats itself. For Kevin Costner, the host, the night that should have celebrated his efforts ended up hijacked by royal drama. The charity itself barely made the headlines, and that's the real tragedy. Because behind the glitter and gossip, behind the headlines about Meghan, are real people who deserved recognition. Instead, the narrative became about a duchess who allegedly struck a worker, clung to her husband, and let her team spin a fantasy for the press. And while the glossy magazines tried to paint her as graceful and supportive, the whispers online told another story. A story of arrogance, entitlement, and chaos that followed her across an ocean and shows no sign of slowing down. For Meghan, the walls are closing in. Every scandal, every misstep, every whispered allegation chips away at the image she worked so hard to build. And for Harry, every one of these incidents pushes him further into a role he never asked for. The silent, uncomfortable man standing next to the storm. Hollywood doesn't forgive easily, and once a star is branded difficult, the climb back is nearly impossible. The shocking truth is that Meghan's behavior, if the reports are true, may have finally crossed a line she can't walk back from. She's not just feuding with the press or clashing with palace officials anymore. She's creating scandals on American soil in front of Hollywood elites who hold the keys to her future. And if they decide she's more trouble than she's worth, Meghan could find herself cut off, shunned, and yes, staring down consequences she never imagined when she walked away from the palace gates. What happens next is anyone's guess. But one thing is clear, the Meghan Markle story isn't calming down anytime soon. It's escalating, spiraling, and pulling her deeper into controversy with every passing month. The whispers of jail might just be whispers for now, but if her temper keeps making headlines, the Duchess may discover that Hollywood exile is only the beginning. And the shocking truth already exposed has made one thing certain: Meghan Markle's future is hanging by a thread, and the world is watching to see if that thread finally snaps. Meghan's defenders will argue that she's simply misunderstood, that the media twists every move she makes into a scandal, and that the so-called slap might be nothing more than exaggerated gossip. But even if that's the case, perception often matters more than truth in the world she now inhabits. Hollywood runs on image, and once the whispers of being difficult or volatile spread, they're nearly impossible to silence. It's not about what really happened in that crowded room. It's about what people believe happened. And right now, what they believe paints Meghan in the most damaging light possible. What makes this even more dangerous for Meghan is the timing. With their Netflix projects under scrutiny, Spotify deal gone cold, and whispers of strained Hollywood relationships growing louder, another high-profile scandal couldn't come at a worse moment. Insiders say producers and networks are becoming hesitant, worried about the unpredictability she brings to every room she enters. A single negative headline might be tolerable, but a pattern of them, that becomes career-ending. And Meghan, despite her determination to be seen as a powerhouse figure, could be on the verge of losing the very platform she fought so hard to secure. Harry's role in this saga shouldn't be underestimated either. Many people who once admired him now pity him, seeing him as a man quietly fading into the background. The prince who once represented strength, duty, and charm has been reduced to awkward smiles and silence. That silence, to critics, speaks volumes. It suggests he either can't or won't step in when Meghan crosses lines, and that in turn makes him complicit in the scandals that follow her. The longer this goes on, the more Harry risks his reputation right alongside hers, tying his future to a storm that shows no signs of calming. If Meghan doesn't find a way to rein in the controversies, the speculation about her facing consequences, whether legal, social, or professional, will only grow louder. Right now, the whispers of going to jail might just be symbolic, a way of saying her star is collapsing under the weight of her own actions. But whispers like that have power. They shape narratives, influence public opinion, and eventually, they dictate careers. And for Meghan Markle, whose every move is already magnified, that could be the most shocking truth of all.